Thanks for coming back to the Servant Slave Life. Let's finish things up with Mayke creator Ed Williams.
We ain't got nobody looking for you, dude.
Nah, we good.
All right, check it. Whirly
Two
bird.
shall pass.
All right.
So yes, the heal, transform, inspire. And if a story isn't hitting on one of those things, we don't go with it. We want people to read our stories and have some type of takeaway. Be it again, if it's being inspired to take action on something, do something. If it's a point of healing, or if it's a transformative. I was this way when I started reading the story, and now after seeing this character go through this, now I'm this way. So if it doesn't hit on one of those things, then we don't go through with it. But it's creating that North Star in your culture for what you want your stories to accomplish. If it's comedy, of course you need to make people laugh. Right? If it's horror, you need to scare people. Right. So find that North Star and build like your stories around that. As long as they hit that mark, yeah, we're gonna go with it. Now, of course, there are many different stories to tell in that scope with that North Star. But it's always about the journey and the growth and development of that character.
But at the same time,
We know we're starting at level 1, and we got to get to level 100. There's some we can't talk about level 30, level 40, level 23 at level 1. We got to start you out here. So we got to leave a lot of those stories off to the side. But if we know the direction we're going in, what is the best story to get us started and going in that direction? And then the stories that help us get to level 100 along the way.
So do you guys like start the story first, or do you start with like the visuals and maybe let the artists, take you on a journey elsewhere? Like, who starts the process?
Writers.
Okay.
We'll definitely start that journey first. It's mostly like we have these different like creator jams that we do collectively on Microsoft Teams, and depending on whoever has a new story, they'll go ahead and pitch the story. And we do what's called, we borrowed a concept, a collaboration concept from Disney Pixar called Plus. So you pitch the story, and then rather like, oh, that's not good enough, you find what works, and then you build off of that one thing. So the writer isn't in the fight alone. You have the rest of the team to help make your story excellent. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to see it as this writer created that story. It's a story by Mayke, right? At the end of the day. So we all have to make sure each and every single one of us puts out a story that's going to represent the brand and the company in the best light possible. So we're there for one.
Right.
And we're there to make sure that each one of us looks good in the process as well. We want people to win individually too.
Right.
So we're not gonna let you come out here with a crazy story.
Right. Hey, you represent me too.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So we start just whatever that concept is, and then we'll bless it. And it may take us, a couple days, a couple weeks. In some cases, for some of these characters, it's taken years to get them to where they're at to now. But it's that process of just working together to find the best story. So it's typically 2 to 3 years in story development. Yeah.
So you, speaking of years, so you first started writing, if I'm not mistaken, around about 2014-ish.
We started in 2011.
2011. Okay. So to get from there to where you are now, like I know there have been some bumps in the road. There have been a few obstacles. So like, how do you just keep going? How do you keep pushing forward?
So I'm going to answer this 2 ways. Because I think a lot of people look for that. It gets hard out here. And that's what I'm going to speak on. Is the fact that it does get hard out here. Because I can tell you all the things that I do to get through it, but it's still going to be hard. And I think at the end of the day, it's your commitment to, I don't want to say passion, commitment to the vision and what you were put on this earth to do. And on this road, I mean, I've gone through depression, anxiety, stress. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I wanted to shut everything down. I was just tired, you know, and it gets like that. Unfortunately, it's life, you know. And you think the one thing is going to be the thing, or you think something's going to go this way and it doesn't. It has an effect on you. And I think the only thing to do in those situations is to be human and to accept that you are human and these things are going to happen. Let the effects happen as they may. But it's what can you learn from not getting that win? You know, take the loss, turn it into a lesson, keep moving forward.
Right.
By any means necessary. And it starts with the belief in yourself, really. And just committing to that vision, committing to your purpose, and understanding that, yeah, this is comics and superheroes, and it looks like, you know, but it's still a journey. And without the pain, without the hard times, there is no story in the journey. And it's that story that's going to inspire other people to do what they've been called to do as well. So it's just, you know, every now and then it's going to suck. And it'll get hard. But find different ways to cope. Self-care is truly important. Taking a break is important. You know, figuring out, you know, whatever your spirituality is, religion, that's also important. Whatever you got to do, just to make it to the next day, do that.
So you mentioned a couple weeks ago, was that the project funding not getting all the way? All right. So being in somewhat avid comic book reader, from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, write the story, draw the story, print it up. What's the problem? Now, you mentioned on the website that, you know, 66% of funding goes to the artists. I didn't know that. That's a lot. So, like, what kind of stuff do they need that maybe we don't think about?
Well, we are very firm on quality. Right. So we hire artists that are going to deliver what we need them to deliver. That artist in particular was $95 a page.
Right. Oh, it was a page?
Yes.
I thought it was $95 a day. This is $95 a page. I have to change my major in school right now.
And that's low. Yeah. He isn't in the industry. He's working himself into there, but he's a phenomenal artist. And that's even like on a deal. Like, he cut us like a little bit of a discount because we worked with him for so long. So at $95 a page, 120-page graphic novel, we're looking at over $11,000 just for the art. That's not including paying the creators, the colorists, the letterer, all that stuff. About hitting about $15,000 with that.
Oh, wait. So you got an artist and a colorist. So they don't work together. They don't do the same thing.
Sometimes you'll find what are called interior artists, the people that draw the pages. It depends. So you can have an illustrator, an interior artist, who does pencils and inks and colors, or some of them just do pencils. And then you may have to ship it off to somebody else to do the inks. And then somebody else do the colors. Or you may be able to find someone who does inks and colors. It just depends on the person. So you may have to pay for pencils, inks, colors, lettering. And that's 4 different people you gotta pay.
Plus shipping to each one.
Plus shipping and the printing. And then the other chunk of change was coming into, because you got to pay for all the rewards, right? So we had a budget for all those rewards, and then Kickstarter takes a fee, right?
Yeah.
So we had to pay. So when it came down to it, out of that $25,000, we had like $100, $150 left to spend after everybody got paid, and that was bare minimum. couldn't even put anything up like for savings, just like some extra padding, just in case we run into an issue.
Yeah.
There was nothing there.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I never would have imagined funding would be like that. So I can definitely see how that would be. Wow.
Yeah.
That gives a whole new look on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once again, being independent, that obviously is gonna come more so from you all, as opposed to different bunches of.
Right. And you know, our past two issues have come out of pocket. The first one we produced a lot of our mini issues out of pocket. John Henry the Passing out of pocket. John Henry, A Tale of Iron and Magic thankfully we had a Patreon at the time, so Patreon paid for a lot of those pages. We still had to get some stuff done out of pocket. So a lot of what you see has been out of pocket. That was the first time that was actually our second Kickstarter. We had a Kickstarter back in 2012 that was successful. We asked for $2,000 to get some equipment, and that was cool. And this was our second one, and it didn't go through. But yeah, most of what you see has been out of pocket so far. And that's another reason why the content has been so slow coming out.
Right. Yeah.
This takes a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
A lot. So,
A lot more than I ever would have imagined.
yeah.
No, but I mean that's good though. I mean, like I said, I read comics, have read comics for years. So for me to just be getting that information, you know, now maybe other people will be like, "Wow, I didn't know that it took all that to bring comics to life."
And that's just, you know, for us. You may be able to find some other beginning illustrators for cheaper, $50, $65, but you also got to pay attention to quality. Comics bank on the art. The art has to be super strong. So if you're asking people to pay $3.99 for a book or $5 for a book, the art better be pretty damn good, you know? So there's only so much sacrificing you can do.
And still put out a good product. Now, I like the fact that you mentioned before, I don't remember how you worded it, but basically talking about, you know, showing other people the journey that you guys have had so that they could know, you know, what worked or what didn't work. And you said, imagine if Stan Lee or Dwayne McDuffie had shared that same information. So are you ever worried about anyone, you know, taking what you've done and then trying to recreate it with maybe like a small twist or anything like that?
No. Now we're not stupid,
right?
Copyrights and things like that,
Very
you know, in place, and
which also costs money.
Yeah. But you know, copyrights are fairly cheap. They're $35 a pop.
Now, do you guys have to copyright by an issue, the brand, character?
We definitely copyright by issue. We copyright just many different things. We've had a great. He works specifically in comics and publishing. His attorney business. He freelances. So he's been a great help in that regard in getting us to be able to copyright and make sure everything is protected. But I always say, not that I want anybody to do this, but you could take everything from me today, and it may take me a couple of years, but I'll come back with something just as strong, if not stronger than this. Because you can't take me. You can't take this up here.
And that's what really drives.
That's what drives this.
Yeah.
People got to understand that. That's why, you know, when, and I hate to say this because I used to be such an avid Android user, but Android, you really can't, it can't get over that iPhone threshold. It can have all its features. I mean, at this point, an Android phone can teleport people across the country, and people still wouldn't get an Android device. It would just wait until iPhone gets one.
Until iPhone would do the same thing.
Yeah, because Apple is Apple.
Okay, that's strong. That's fair. They're a very strong brand.
Very, very strong brand.
Yeah.
And Apple has had a lot of different companies steal their ideas, twist them up, go a different direction. Still don't work for those other companies. People will not move away from Apple. And if need be, Apple will just go ahead and do something completely different because it's Apple. And they've banked heavily on their creative intellectual property and their innovations. So I think once people start understanding that, and what we're doing I mean, Bolt is a speedster. You have Flash. You have Quicksilver. He's been, in previous years, he's been compared to Static as well, because of the way he looked. He had electric powers and things like that. Black teenager. A lot of these characters are just variations of other characters, but there are characters. We put it to this. Everything is an archetype.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
And you don't never have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to dial it 5 degrees one way to make it your own.
It's kind of slick. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Marvel and DC. They have Adam and Ant-Man. You know? Batman and the Black Panther. Or whatever. That's a comparison.
I don't know about that one.
Maybe not that one.
Now, the only thing I've always, now this is a personal thing. Batman is probably one of the best characters in DC.
Yeah.
The only thing is he ain't black. I mean, he cool, he dope. That's my boy.
Yeah.
But he ain't black.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I can see a lot of similarity between Black Panther and Batman. But yeah,
Marvel and DC go tick for tack with one
They
another
do.
all day.
They do.
And they're still original characters and unique characters to each of those houses.
I have to agree with that. So I just got a couple more questions as I go over here and check my Android. Yeah, so I just wanted to real quick. So all right, so comic or graphic novel?
Graphic novel. Because of the way society is going right now. We binge everything. We are a Netflix society. We want to binge everything. And people want the content in its entirety so they can consume them at the rate, time, and speed that they want. Comic books don't allow you to do that. It's periodicals.
Right.
Released every week or whatever the case is over time. Just like traditional TV. Graphic novels are your Netflix. They'll give you the whole season up front. And you watch it how you want to watch it.
Right.
So that's why I'm more of an advocate for graphic novels. And last I read, graphic novels have been performing quite well in the market.
Giving people what they want.
Yeah, give people what they want.
Okay. All right, I can definitely understand that. So, my other question: how do I get a signed copy of some of your content? Because I know you got a 3-pack that's getting ready to come out with Braxton. I think it was Braxton, John Henry, and
Both John Henry books.
both
yeah.
John Henry. Okay. So how might one come across a signed copy of such, a graphic novel?
I wish you had said something, because I got a brought you one. Right.
I'm here till tomorrow. I told you.
This is true.
And a shirt.
Yeah. I got posters and stuff I can, yeah. There we go. Problem solved. We're good to go.
Excuse me. This is what happens when you do what you love. You love what you do. You just go however you want. But no, so that's really dope. Like, this has been a great conversation, just sitting down. Like, I've learned so much. Like, I've done research about some things so I can have like some good questions to ask, not just random, so you like the color and stuff. But I mean, really, like, good questions. Like, but I've still learned so much. So I definitely want to thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything else that you want to share with people? Upcoming projects, contact info, words of wisdom to part with, or anything like that?
Absolutely. So what we have right now is we are from the Kickstarter,
Right.
Because that didn't go through. We're breaking that Braxton Regenesis now into issues.
So you're going from a graphic novel to comics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cheaper, gets the content out faster.
Right.
Doesn't take as much capital. Not the most ideal thing because of what I just said. However, it still gets people content.
Right.
So when it's all said and done, then we can box it all up into one big book and still deliver it that way. But at least we get the content out there, So that's coming to our Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/weareMake, you'll find it there, and that's actually where you'll get a lot of the behind the scenes. I just did a creator talk with myself, breaking down our first mini issue and the thoughts behind the storytelling and creative process behind that. I've broken down we're breaking down the characters and what they stand for. We also have our 52 episode podcast we used to do on there that pretty much chronicled the journey of how we got to where we got to at the time. So a lot of episodes on storytelling, character design, branding, and marketing, and things like that. So there's content on our Patreon for those who want to check that out. And then you can find me personally at It's Ed Williams, ITS Ed Williams on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find Mayke, all things Mayke, at We Are Mayke on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and our website. So it's MAYKE. And as far as parting wisdom, the only thing that really truly stands in your way is you. And once you understand that there is nothing to fear, there is always going to be a troll. Someone is always going to say something. You'll get a bunch of no's along the way, but at least you know the answer. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be yes or no, or maybe you may get a maybe. But at least you have an answer.
Yeah.
And you're not completely stuck. Once you are able to move fearlessly, that's when a lot of things start opening up. And I mean, you look at people like Beyonce, who is excellent, personified. The amount of hate she gets. You can never be perfect enough, right enough, talented enough. Someone is always going to have something to say. Always. So you may as well just move anywhere and keep moving forward. It is what it is. Turn off comments, mute people, block people, do what you gotta do. But just move. And move with confidence. And so being fearless and believing in yourself and in your vision and your purpose, really all the tools you need. Money is helpful, but use what you can, what you got, and do what you can. Do what you can with what you got. If you got $5, make it stretch. Black folk know how to turn $5 somehow magically into 5,000. Stretch it out. You know, it's just what we do.
Yo.
Make it happen. This has been built off of pennies, nickels, and dimes for almost 8 years now. It is what it is. It may be a little slower, but it is what it is. Just use what you got. Save money, get some on the side. Do Uber Eats. Uber Eats charge you $30 to deliver food anyway.
Man,
so you might as well take
chicken sandwich.
Right, that costs $5. Now you paying $48 for it. But that's neither here nor there. You know.
Plus the tip.
Plus
Don't
the
forget
tip. The tip too. It's now 62. But you know, do what you gotta do out here. You know, every dollar counts. But that's all I gotta say.
One more question. One more question. So, are you ever now? A lot of what you guys do, digital down. Are you ever considering moving out to like more hard copy?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'll put that one. I got a hard copy of John Henry Iron and Magic at the house. A couple copies. The thing about that is though, digital, at least if there are things we want to improve upon, we can do that. Like we're going to be revisiting Iron and Magic and the Passing, putting some of these newer elements that we've discovered in our universe in those. So with the hard copy, we can't always update the hard copy. But I mean, we're not always going to be going back to the stories and updating them. They'll be finished. But you know, as we learn and as we grow, there are some things Iron and Magic needs. There's some things the Passing needs. We put in there to tie all this up, clean it up a lot.
Right.
So I'm able to do that digitally. Whereas a hard copy, it is what it is. But we can at least send you, if you already got a hard copy, we can send you the digital version, but it just won't be in the hard copy. So, yeah, but yeah, hard copy, we went to BlurCon for the first time ever with hard copies of our comics. So
I saw the pictures from that. It looked like it was fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Hit the Blur Con.
I plan to do my first Comic Con at the end of the year.
Okay.
November, I think is what it is. So
Okay.
that's gonna be different.
Yeah, where at?
It's in Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Louisville,
Nice.
Louisville, Kentucky, like the 24th, 25th, something like that. So I watch Big Bang Theory, so I'm prepared to look at people sideways and be like, I don't like it. I don't like it. But I'm also willing to be open-minded.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out who I'm gonna go as. I want to do something. I don't know. I might go with Icon. One of the few brothers smack Superman around like he owes some money. So I might go with that. I might like that. But yes, definitely. So once again, Ed Williams, everybody, I want to thank you for being on the show. Y'all make sure y'all get this man's comics. Everybody's comics. Y'all see all this back here. All this representation is beautiful, amazing, and is great for every age. So yes, thank you once again. Appreciate y'all for joining us here on Serpent Slay. So that's all I got.
Thank you for having me.